Alright, the next step I want to do is I want to go ahead and lube the throttle cables and probably do the brake cable on all the control cables on this side. So first thing I'm going to do is remove this cover to get to the throttle cables, and then try to take those loose. I'm going to try to lube them while they're on the bike. I think I can do it. I think there's enough of a turn and a downgrade to be able to do that here and not have to disconnect them from the carbs and everything. We're going to give that a shot first. What you have here when you remove it, and mine popped off as soon as I pulled the cover off. It stayed with the cover, but you have this little chain drive guide here that I'm going to lube that up and clean it up, and then you've got your two cables here in the cover. So I'm going to leave that there so I remember that which one goes where. So I'm going to lube the first cable up first, and then I'll lube the next cable up. Okay, now I already lubed the one cable and it worked fine. It came out the other end. So now I'm doing the other one. I can't remember where. I think I got this from Motion Pro, I believe it is. This cable lube little device here. So I've got the other one on. You just give it a little squirt into it and it forces the fluid down into the cable. It's probably enough. Let me see if it's coming out the other side. This is for the left carb. Not quite yet. Tighten this up a little bit because it seems a little loose. But it worked great with the other side. And well, this one's not clamping down as well on the other side. May not have the cable up in it enough. Clamp down nice and tight on the first one that I did. I think the cable end is sticking up a little too much and it's not letting it go. There it goes. Now it's slid down. You can feel it kind of slide all the way down into the cable. And put that back in the hole. Sometimes that'll force it down out of the bottom, so I just didn't have this rag up here to keep it from running everywhere. Just give it a few squirts. It should be good. Take that back off. And yep, I see it dripping from the other side. So I just ran enough through to get it to drip out the other side. And so these throttle cables should be lubed up. I just put a little piece of tape on this one so I knew it went in the top part of the cover, and then we'll clean up the other parts. And there should be some grease in here, and this one there's no grease whatsoever that I see in here for the mechanism to run this system, so run the throttle. So I'm guessing that's probably why the throttle wasn't very responsive. It was pretty stiff. It was because there was no grease in here to lube this up, or if there was, it's all evaporated now or whatever happened to it, but it's none in there. So that's probably why this throttle cable didn't move real smooth. So I'm gonna clean this up and then put some grease down in here. Alright, I hope you can see in this angle. What I did was I cleaned the handlebar, the throttle cable, or the throttle assembly itself. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the handlebars. I cleaned that off too. So I'm just going to rub a little bit of grease on here. I'm going to slide the grip back in. And I cleaned up inside of here also with some brake clean, and some paper towels. So I'm just going to put some grease in here where it rides. Put it in a little bit on all the teeth. I'm not going to go overboard with this, just enough to give it some lubrication in there. And I clean the chain assembly here really good. Put just a little dab of grease on the top, so where this sits, around the teeth. So that moves freely, and then we've got to connect the cables back up to it. A little more grease on this chain here that slides in this groove. Just want to keep all this lubed pretty good. Grease on the cable ends. Sorry if I'm in the way of the camera here. Slide this one in the bottom. One with a piece of tape goes on top. It should sit right back in that groove. And then get the cover. And then we'll just put the cover back on right here. Pull the cable just a little bit to get it to slide back in there. Whoops, the bottom one just popped off. It just popped off. So you'll just have to play with it to get the cables back into the groove and back in the box there. Try to do it with the camera on. Never done this before, so we're learning together. Piece jumped out of position. There we go. Those line back up. And put the screw back in. Feels much better. It's coming right back before it wouldn't. All right. So that's the throttle cables.